Sup lifters, today I want to show you how to perform the overhead press or military press. I've already done videos on the big three, so I wanted to keep progressing through this video series because I feel like it's quite useful both for me and for you, in my opinion, because I feel like I can give a different perspective than other bigger YouTubers, influencers, call them however you will, since all of them, they are very experienced lifters, or at least the majority of them, whereas I am much greener. So I believe that some of the tips that I might give you might resonate with you better, because I also believe that you are a beginner, just like me. So, overhead press, military press, they are the same exercise. The idea of the movement is the same, which is holding a barbell and pressing it up. This is an amazing movement for the front delts. In my opinion, this is the only movement that you need for the front delts. So if you are not doing this, that you are doing front raises, I would really suggest you to drop the front raises and do the overhead press. Another good exercise for, still like the front delts is the Arnold press. However, I firmly believe that this is a better exercise in the sense that it is more similar to a compound movement, okay? So I'm gonna take the lighter barbell, and I'm gonna show you something which is decently important. I mean, that you need to kind of check before doing this movement, which is how good your shoulder mobility is, because the movement consists in you basically pushing the weight over your head, okay? And we want to do this in a perfectly, or at very least as straight fashion as we can, okay? So our top position is this one, it's not this one. If you're not able to reach this top position, you might need to work on your shoulder mobility. I don't really have many tips to give you, honestly, because I've never really struggled too much with that up until now. I think so. I am doing some stuff, but let's say that my shoulders mobility do not cause me any kind of trouble when I overhead press. So this is what I want you to do, okay? And I'm gonna flip the camera so you can look at me at the wall. Okay, so I want you to sit against the wall and hold the barbell in your hand. It can even be like a plastic tube, it doesn't need to be a barbell. Actually, the lighter it is, the better it is. And what we want to do is basically simply kind of replicate the grip that we usually use on our overhead press, if you already tried it, or the grip that you use on your bench press. In general, the grip is slightly shoulder width apart, okay? So it's not shoulder width, slightly more open. So this is the grip that I usually use. And what I want you to do is to basically extend your hands overhand, okay? And then I want you to bring them back, okay? Your back should be straight against the wall, okay? Right now, as you can see, actually you can't really see, but I'm gonna tell you that the only part of my body that are touching the wall is the head and the upper back. We also want the lower back, okay? So we need to have contact in the lower back, upper back, and head. And then I want you to overextend at the top, okay? If you're actually able to do this, you're golden. If you wanna keep checking just to see how good your shoulder mobility is, simply try to keep the grip straighter. And like here, I can feel that my left shoulder isn't really touching the wall. I can make it touch, but it is slightly harder. So do this test, and if you need to work on your shoulder mobility, that is your first and most important task before even learning how to overhead press. So now we're gonna proceed with the real tutorial. Okay, the first thing that we actually need to understand is what is the actual starting position. Because you understand that in the overhead press you are pressing the bar up. However, is this the starting position or is this the starting position? And to understand that, and this is something that I actually got wrong up until like a couple of weeks ago, we need to think of the bench press, okay? In the bench press, this is the beginning of the movement, okay? So that is the same for the overhead press. So this is the starting of the movement. However, since it's way harder to rock this, and also we don't usually have a spotter and stuff like that, we use a rack which is pretty much at shoulder height, okay? So this is where the movement begins. However, know that this is your actual starting position, okay? So you can think of the first press as a half rep in the sense that it's like doing a bottom-up dips, okay? When you're dipping, you're starting from the top, then you go down, and then you press, okay? This is as if we were just starting like this, and then we press up. However, in the dip, you can just jump over the bar. We can't do that with the overhead press. So this is important to understand because you will need to understand what are the variations of the overhead press, which I'm going to talk about later. So this is the beginning of the movement, and we start doing a first rep. So how do we unlock the weight? We don't do it like this. If you ever front squatted, this might actually feel very familiar. You want to get as down as you can and have the bar rest on your hands and on the top of your chest, okay? When you are front squatting, you are making it rest over your shoulders, but the principle is the same. You want to get under the bar in order to let the bar hang against our whole structure, so against our bones. We don't want to pre-fatigue by having a bad unlock. So we grip the bar. Again, the grip is pretty intuitive. We are just going with a normal, overhand grip. It's nothing crazy, no hook grip, no mixed grip, anything of that. Just grab the bar. I don't really need to spend a lot of time talking about that. So we grab it, we get down, you see I do a slight knee movement which allows me to de-rock the bar. Okay, this is our starting position, and I'm gonna stay like this so you can look at it from the side. If I were to press from there, number one, it is a bad, let's say, position for me to press from. Number two, there are some cues that we need to make before we press. The first and most important thing is that we need to have our butt contracted, okay? Our glutes need to be contracted. Why is that? Because we are using our glutes to stabilize our whole torso, okay? Because when we are in this position, look at the difference. When we squeeze our glutes, our body automatically almost kind of moves slightly backwards. It's very slight, but trust me, it's going to be very important once you understand how to kick the elbows in. So, butt is going to be squeezed. We are going to use the Valsalva maneuver. If you don't know what it is, go search for it. It's important for every single one of your lifts. But basically, we're using it once again in order to create torso rigidity. So we have our butt, which is holding us together, and we also have our lumbar spine, which is also held together by the Valsalva maneuver. How about the upper back? Well, when we are unrocking, I told you to actually think about the front squat, because in the front squat your upper chest should be nice and open, okay? So we don't want to have a small chest. Let's think of that. Think of having a big chest. In that way, you are almost retracting your shoulders, okay? It's not like a bench press. However, our upper back is all squeezed together. And it's important to create this type of rigidity on the upper back, because that is going to create a platform, okay, with the glutes and the lumbar spine and the abs rigidity, which will basically create this whole strong structure, which will allow you to generate a lot of power and simply shoot this bar up, not down, of course, we're pushing up. I really like to think about it as I said, a platform for which we're basically, like, think of a rocket shooting towards the sky, okay? The ground and the foundation needs to be strong, because that is generating a lot of power in order to fly up. So, glutes engaged, abs engaged, lower back engaged, Valsalva maneuver, upper back nice and packed. Once we get there, are we ready to push? No, there is one more important thing, because if I did everything that I said without the last thing, this is pretty much the position that I get, okay? And look at this, my wrist is there, but my elbows is back here. If I pushed like this is inefficient. What I want to do is shove the elbows in. Once I shove my elbows in, the elbow is directly down, okay? It's perfectly straight. Look at how it supports the whole movement, okay? The elbow is always behind the wrist. And that is because, just like in the bench press and in pretty much every single other lift, you want to have your joints aligned. That way the structure will allow you to support better the power that you're generating, because it's not really difficult to think about it, that if I were to press like this, like here the weight is light, but understand that this is not an efficient way of moving. This is efficient, okay? So tuck the elbows in. Now, This is another thing that has helped me a lot. So we are tucking our elbows in. What do we do with our grip? Personally, I like to think of having the bar almost fall towards my fingers, okay? So it's not in the lower part of the hand, it's more towards the upper part of the hand. And why is that? Because if you are watching me from the side, but if I do this, you can see that the bar is more aligned with the rest of my body. And we once again fall back to the principle of having everything stacked on top of each other, okay? And the main idea is that I'm gonna be stronger if I am pressing in a straight line from my center of gravity, okay? So if I'm pushing like this, I'm gonna be weaker than if I'm pushing like this. Because under here there is a lot of structure which is basically allowing you to generate power and push everything in the right direction. So when you're pushing up, okay, don't think of pushing like this. Think of letting your elbows come in and almost push towards your head. Okay, so always, do a slight movement because we don't want to get hit in the chin, okay? So your head is going to be slightly tilted backwards in order to make space. And from here, we are basically able to push perfectly over our body. So I hope everything that is clear. When you're pushing up, again, don't think of holding your fist like this. Think of letting it almost come forward, okay? Because your hand is still supported, it's gonna hold the weight, do not worry about it. And you're gonna be stronger because it's gonna be over your center of gravity. One last thing, since we have talked about what is the start of the movement and the end of the movement, we need to understand how are we gonna wrap it, okay? Because it's just like the bench press. If you're doing touch and go, this is touch and go. You start, you come down, and you push instantly up. If you're doing pause overhead press, however, you're not pausing up here, you're pausing down here. And this is where the weight is dead, okay? There is no momentum, nothing is involved, and from here you start pressing up, okay? So this is also pretty important to understand, because I used to overhead press, and basically when I was tired, I was resting down here. However, it's almost as if I were bench pressing, okay? And in between my reps, I was resting here. And it doesn't make any sense because this is the hardest portion and position of the movement, because it's the deepest. When you're tired on the bench press and you gotta take a couple of breaths, you are holding your hands down and far from you. That way it is the structure that is supporting the barbell's weight, not your muscles. And that is why if you need to rest, you need to rest at the top of the movement, not here. If you're resting here, you're doing a pause overhead press, which is also an amazing movement. I personally have one day in which I do touch and go with heavier weight, and one day where I do paused. And that allows me to basically both work on perfect form, or at least as clean as I can, as well as working on basically increasing my strength, because of course touch and go allows you to handle more weight, just like pause bench uses less weight than a regular bench. So I hope you enjoyed. I don't really think there is anything else that we need to talk about besides one last thing, which is behind the neck overhead press, okay? So if you follow this channel, you might have seen me doing this. But why am I doing this? Is there any benefit for hypertrophy? No, there is absolutely no need for you to do it. Why am I doing it though? Because my squat, like my back rack position in the squat is bad, and I tend to lean towards one side. So I want to try to strengthen my shoulder and get it comfortable to be basically staying and pushing and generating power from an uncomfortable position. Don't do this with an heavier barbell. This is a 20 kilograms, 44 pounds barbell. This is 8 kilograms, so it's like probably like no, a little bit more, like 18 pounds, 19 pounds. So it's light, and that is why I'm able to press it from the back. So if you need to improve your range of motion, start light. I started with the blue dumbbells, which were from 2 kilograms, 4.4 pounds. So start light, and you can start pressing behind the neck, but know that it is just for shoulder mobility, and there are absolutely no benefits. It is the same for pull-ups and behind the neck pull-ups. It's all conditioning for the shoulder capsule, and don't do it if you're not mobile enough. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and see you guys in the next one.